Hey, Hail Stalkers, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms across Colorado this afternoon. We are watching for storms anywhere from Colorado all the way up to Montana today. Actually, we have over 23 million square miles of storms or people in the risk today. I'm trying to get these graphics to work here. Okay, let's see if the clicker will work again. There we go. Okay, Denver is in the severe weather risk for today, just newly added to that risk. It's a level 2 for Denver. We're going to see a little bit of everything today. Some large hail possible. Very strong wind, very likely, and then we've got a few tornadoes that are expected in an area of long lines of storms coming from a cold front that set up across the Midwest today. As we head into later this week, storms will head down to the south. Take a look at your severe storm risks for today. Again, just a very large area for potential storms this afternoon. Anywhere from Billings all the way to Denver. We've got an area that we're expecting some very strong wind across Nebraska, Colorado, and Kansas. And then if you look up to the Midwest, that's where that cold front is setting up with that tornado risk later on today. For tomorrow, anywhere across the plains, all the way up through the northern plains, and then places like St. Louis, all the way up to the Midwest, also included in a severe risk. Tomorrow, St. Louis is definitely an area to watch for. As we head into Friday, storms shift down to the south just a little bit as we are looking into Nashville, Tennessee, Wichita, Kansas, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. But before we get into this forecast, I have another forecast that I want you guys to be a part of. We have the hurricane and hail outlook as we head into the fall. Register for that at the QR code that's at the bottom of your screen, or click the link in the comments. You can head over to info.hailtrace.com, and I think it's hurricane-forecast. You guys will see it somewhere, either in this QR code or in the comments section. We're excited to bring this to you on July 15th, right after our live forecast. So we've got about a week until that live forecast. And of course, Derek Klein is going to be hosting that. So we cannot wait to bring that to you. We'll leave this QR code up for just another minute or two as we look at what we saw yesterday, and then we'll get into today's forecast. You can see that yesterday we had a few hail reports, but nothing over the size of 2 inches. I actually think that our largest hail report yesterday was the size of a ping pong ball. Storms are underperforming than what we expected to see, and I think that's a trend that we're going to see again today. What we're expecting today is another round of storms that could produce 2-inch size hail. Baseball size hail, most likely not expected. Right now, pretty quiet across the radar. Here's a look at your forecast for today. Your hail forecast showing those areas highlighted in orange are going to be the best areas for large hail today. And hey, John, if we could pop this off of the screen, perfect, so we can see this full screen here. Let's go ahead and get into that hail forecast today. While we are expecting some large hail for some, so we're talking about anywhere from maybe ping pong to golf ball, maybe even into that 2-inch hen egg sized hail, the likelihood for hen egg sized hail is still going to be pretty low. Almost everyone highlighted there in green for that risk level at a low risk level. And I think that's because we have a very short window for storms today. It's going to be those initial severe storms that will produce hail. And then shortly after that, as they sink to the south or to the east, we're expecting more of a wind threat. And some strong wind is absolutely possible today. Take a look at your wind forecast here. We've got an area that we're expecting some very, very strong wind, anywhere from Scottsbluff all the way down to Colby, Kansas today. That will be because we've got some really decent buoyancy, which will make parcels rise into the thunderstorm. And then you guys know the drill here. What comes up must come down. And then where does that go? That spreads out in all directions, and that will be your wind threat for today in this area. Now we've got a cold front all the way up to the Midwest, and that'll be more of a widespread wind threat, but your wind levels here will be a little bit lower, anywhere from 60 to 75 miles an hour. This area of the country, as you expect your cold front, it'll be mainly a wind threat with embedded tornadoes. And we'll talk about that tornado threat here in just a few minutes. Strong wind anywhere from Billings all the way down to Salt Lake City. Even stronger wind from Denver to Colby, Kansas, and Scottsbluff, Nebraska. We're expecting these storms to start right around 1 o'clock this afternoon and continue into the evening hours. We even have a low risk for storms out in South and North Carolina today. North Carolina and Virginia today. There's your isolated tornado threat. It's very, very low, anywhere from La Crosse all the way down to the northern side of Iowa. Again, a low threat, but still something to keep an eye on today. I do think that those tornadoes will be hard to spot. In a long line of storms, we'll have embedded tornadoes that are possible here. Let's take a look at your significant hail model. We've got yellows and oranges trying to pop up on the screen today, but again, I think that your hail risk will be pretty minimal this afternoon. A few of us are expecting golf balls, maybe 2-inch size hailstones. For the most part, I'm not expecting a widespread hail threat today. While storms will be widespread, I think it's going to be really, really difficult for these to be hailers. I mean, look at this down in Denver. As storms start between about 1 and 2 o'clock this afternoon, Denver, you're still in the white for your significant hail model. What does that mean? Maybe up to quarter size hail. I actually put you guys in the golf ball size hail zone today for your largest hailstone. Most of those smaller. If we just get the perfect storm, maybe up to golf balls. I'm trying not to get your hopes up here because I do think that it's going to be a pretty low risk. I've outlined 2 areas of storms today, one that stretches north-south right just to the east of the Rockies, and then another from that cold front, anywhere from Wisconsin to the southern portion of Minnesota and northern Iowa. In Nebraska, you'll see a few storms either from this line of storms, or if you're on the western side of Nebraska, you'll see those Rockies storms. John, any weather questions before we continue on our forecast today? We're all good. Okay, storms will continue through the overnight hours into Omaha early tomorrow morning. I've already kind of given this away, but again, maximum hail size today up to hen egg sized hail. Now let's move into your timeline here. I was going to move into tomorrow, but we've got a few more minutes until we move into tomorrow. Let's talk about your timeline. Storms go up, isolated at first around 1 o'clock this afternoon. That'll be your best chance for hail. 1 to about 6 o'clock before storms become more widespread, definitely more crowded into this area. You're seeing just tons of storms across this area here. That'll be whenever we switch over from that hail threat to a wind threat. And your main wind threat highlighted here in orange, we're expecting widespread strong winds across this area. That's why the forecast today was mentioning secure those trampolines because we're expecting strong wind anywhere in this area highlighted in yellow or orange. Strong storms will continue through the late night hours and into the overnight hours. I'm not expecting too much activity after about midnight tonight, but Omaha is still included in that yellow level 2 severe weather risk there. As storms get into Kansas City by early tomorrow morning, your main threat will just be that rain. Heavy rain early tomorrow morning in Kansas City. As always, comment where you're watching from so that we can tailor this forecast to exactly where you're watching from today or where you're expecting storms or wanting storms today. We've got storms across Green Bay this afternoon, but ending by the evening hours. Storms across Omaha later on tonight, so those storms will be a lot later into the overnight hours tonight. Moving on here, let's talk about tomorrow. Now, what is happening here on like a wide scale, very large scale area? What we're seeing is this high pressure system that's slowly building in to the Four Corners and then eventually across the Rockies into places like Denver as we head into the weekend. And what that will do is it's going to push storms up to the north. But before we get there, we have another round of storms anywhere from Kansas all the way up into the plains, really avoiding this high pressure system that's out in the Four Corners, right? So we're going to see a better chance for storms all the way across the Midwest for tomorrow. I think the hail forecast here is a little tricky tomorrow. What we're expecting, I think for sure, is large hail across the Dakotas. I think it'll be a little tricky as we get into places like Kansas, Missouri, and southern Illinois. St. Louis is included in the hail risk for tomorrow, but right now I'm keeping those hail sizes pretty small. Maximum hail size for tomorrow, most likely in the Dakotas, will be up to 2 inches in size, hen egg size hail. But again, you guys have a level 2 severe weather risk. So the likelihood to get rain, very high. The likelihood to get severe weather, pretty good in St. Louis. Level 2 severe weather risk on Thursday. Wichita to St. Louis, all the way to Nashville by Friday. We're expecting storms to sink to the south just momentarily before that high pressure system starts to build back in and push all of those storms back up to the north. Again, you can see your hail risk for tomorrow really favoring the northern plains. St. Louis, you're just not seeing that significant hail risk in your area. And there's your forecast. Any weather questions before we move on? We're going to go ahead and talk about something that we see oftentimes in the summer. We've talked about that high wind threat, something called a derecho, a strong, long line of winds And for that, we're going to bring in meteorologist Martin Larimore to break down what is a derecho.
Yeah, derechos have been already very prominent for this year. We've had two that have been preliminary, one in Oklahoma and one out toward the Midwest. So a lot of those have been pretty prevalent. Actually, I believe this is a different graphic. It should be up top where it should say like a down, something a little different. But hey, we did see that derecho over in Oklahoma not too long ago, and it did have some pretty intense winds that moved its way across Oklahoma. We had more of those that had also winds up in toward Iowa, Illinois. Very, very intense winds upwards toward that 130 mile an hour marker that we also saw in the parts of the Great Basin area up in the northern plains. So let's take a look. Derechos, how do they form? That's really the big thing. I mean, we usually start to see these storms as little cells, you know, starting off with what we call a little bow echo, and eventually it becomes this positive feedback loop. So basically, as the storm develops, it gets bigger and bigger and better. So first we notice warm, dry air getting pulled into that storm. You're looking at the cloud. What is the cloud? It's water vapor. A lot of that moisture. What happens when this warm, dry air gets pulled in, it evaporates a lot of the water in here, causes what we call a cold pool. Really just think of a cold pool as a big mass of cold air. This might sound familiar. If you remember yesterday, we were talking about well, not yesterday, the day before, we were talking about downbursts. This essentially, derecho, is a long-lasting downburst. That's really the best way to think about it. A long-lasting downburst that covers a large area, but as this cold pool develops, we see that water vapor evaporating in the cloud, and it causes a lot of this area to get much cooler, and it starts falling out of the cloud. And as long as you have this humid environment that provides enough moisture, that cold pool remaining will continue to fall out as long as we can get that inflow that really pulls in that warm, dry air, causes more of that cold pool to develop. It just continuously blasts the surface with those winds upwards to 60 to 130 mile an hour winds as long as this cloud does continue to move. Again, as long as we have moisture and that cold pool remains, the derecho is formed and it spreads. This is one of the most famous derechos. I was talking with our lead meteorologist about this, and he was saying that this is one of the most damaging and expensive weather phenomenon we've ever seen here in the US. The derecho, August 10th, 2020. He also said it's the most photogenic, so he said use this one if you're going to show an example. So you can see that large derecho here. August 10th, 2020, went right through Davenport and parts of Cedar Rapids, had winds upwards to 100 miles an hour. And again, you could just see as it moves its way through, it's maintaining that cold pool as we see that essentially that downburst, continual downburst moving its way across as it moved its way across Iowa and eventually Illinois. The way that we actually have these derechos is a very specific criteria. It has to be a certain length, has to have a certain amount of these wind reports, also has to have a specific set of 75 mile an hour wind gusts or more. So very specific criteria. So that's when we usually say preliminary a derecho, which that was this year. They have to confirm specific things, but when you look at something like this, oh yeah, that was absolutely a derecho on August 10th, 2020. And we are still watching for the possibility of more. We're seeing later this month where we could actually watch what we call our low-level jet moving through. So you want to see these winds all moving in one direction to help that derecho move along. You don't want really a ton of shear with this derecho. You want continuous winds in the upper and lower levels. And we are looking at that possibility out toward the Midwest and the Northeast later this month. As that high pressure sets into the south, we'll see more of that jet stream filtering its way down into the Great Lakes and the Northeast. So we could be seeing some more derechos. We usually average about 1 to 2 a year, and we have had 2 that are preliminary. So if we get another, man, we're gonna be way ahead of schedule for that one. But we're gonna get back to Taylor just a quick moment, get back to your forecast.
Yeah, great breakdown, Martin. We appreciate your meteorological expertise there. One way that I like to explain a derecho is almost like a snowplow, just plowing through everything in its path with those strong winds that spread out in every direction. Now, we're not expecting that type of storm system today. However, we are expecting more storms, very, very similar to that as we head into the later portion of the summer. It's a very, very typical storm system that we see in the summertime months. Let's take a look at those temperatures. We are seeing a nice heat wave. Nice. Do you like the heat? I hope that you do, because that's what we're seeing as we head into the weekend and early next week. Now, you're going to look at these temperatures and you're going to say that looks really hot. 98 in Oklahoma City, 102 in Dallas. But if you compare that to normal, that's just barely above normal for this time of the year. We should expect this type of heat, right? We should expect it to be hot in the middle of July. And that's exactly what we're getting into as we head into next week and probably the week after as well. Actually, let's take a look at your long-term forecast here. Temperatures, ooh, yeah, expected to stay warm as we head into the middle of this month. July 13th through the 17th, we are expecting temperatures to have a really, really good chance to be above average for this time of the year. What does that mean? Does that mean just 100s every single day? No, that means above average for your area. If your area is 90 degrees on average for July 14th, expect that to be maybe 95. Why is this? We've got a high pressure system that's moving across the U.S., anywhere from the Four Corners all the way up to Denver, Colorado, as we head into the weekend. What happens here is high pressure means lots of sunshine. Sunshine means heat. High pressure means sinking air. That warming air will come into this area, also helping temperatures to warm up. Another consequence of this high pressure system is going to be it pushes all of these storms up to the north into places like Canada, across the Midwest, and into our New England states. So you can expect a better chance for storms across this area as we head into this weekend and early next week. All right, let's talk about your wet weather here. Pretty dry across the Midwest, and then a better chance for rain across the southern portion of the U.S. And that's your forecast for today. Any last minute questions before we get going here? John says that we do have one question. Okay, let's see what our question is, John. What's about to go down in Denver? Let me pull up your Denver forecast. One second. I've got my computer in front of me so I can control the graphics. Let's get to today's forecast. So here's what you're going to see on this forecast. You've got your larger hailstones just outside of Denver, most likely to the north and east. But could you see up to golf ball size hail in Denver? I think that's absolutely possible. Because of the nature of these storms, they're pretty isolated for severe storms. I think it's going to be really hard to get anything over the size of a golf ball in the Denver area. Honestly, it's probably going to be hard to get severe weather in Denver. I think that's because we've got a cluster of storms that will be moving in by about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and it's going to be really, really difficult for that to go severe. But it's possible. It's definitely possible for today. We've got our lapse rates there. We'll see if we can get the organization. Timeline for Denver between about 1 and 6 o'clock tonight. You'll most likely have multiple rounds of storms, not just one, so several chances to get severe weather today. After that first round goes through, you could have another round of storms near your evening commute. Any other weather questions? We're all good right now. Let me talk about timeline for Denver real quick. All right, right along I-70, there's Denver. It's 2 o'clock Central Time this afternoon, and we've got storms in your area. This one coming through just to the south of Denver, right along I-25. These storms really seem to favor northeastern Colorado, strengthening as they cross I-25 into the east. Another round of storms around 6 o'clock, but you guys should be pretty dry after that. Maybe even another round of showers early tomorrow morning. And then for tomorrow, let's take a look at your day 2 hail risk. Denver is not technically in the hail risk yet, but I think that it'll be added for tomorrow. You can see that the better chances for hail will be up in the north, into the Dakotas, North and South Dakota, and then a low chance across Denver. Did we have another question? John, I saw something pop up on the screen. Yeah? Okay. Can you show potential areas for tonight's storm again, like a U.S. overview? Let's see what graphics I have here. I like this one the best. So here's your risk for today. You've got your level 1 risk highlighted in green, level 2 in yellow, and level 3 in orange. This will be the main risk for high wind today. Not just your 60 to 70 mile per hour wind speeds, but it could be even stronger than that, 75, maybe 80 miles an hour in this area highlighted in orange. Again, timeline, you wanted to see the radar here. Storms will go up near I-25 right around 1 o'clock this afternoon and continue with multiple rounds as we head into the evening hours. Storms will most likely strengthen as they head into the eastern portion of Wyoming, Colorado, western Nebraska, and the western side of Kansas. This will be after about 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. Then we've got another area to watch out for today. We've got a cold front that extends from Wisconsin into Minnesota and then all the way into Iowa. What we're expecting in this area will be the potential for embedded tornadoes as these storms continue to drop to the south. Anywhere from the central portion of Iowa all the way back into Nebraska, not as many storms, but these are likely to be stronger. As storms head into Omaha through the overnight hours tonight, so it'll be later on tonight, maybe right around dusk, or shortly thereafter. It'll be dark at this point as storms go into Omaha. They still have the potential to be strong, but then weakening shortly after that, as we head into the early morning hours on Thursday. Is that good for timeline? We feel good about that? We've got another question, okay. What's our next question, John? Anything for New Jersey? We don't get a lot of questions about New Jersey. I don't have a graphic, but I can bring this graphic up to you guys. Nothing severe in this area today. Maybe a few spotty showers. But nothing severe. We don't get a lot of questions about New Jersey, do we? It's usually Colorado, Texarkana, a lot of Texas questions, DFW. New Jersey, keep an eye on storms later on this weekend and early next week, because what's going to happen here is you've got this high pressure system that's going to build in, it's a storm system that's far away from you guys, right? Here's the East Coast, and here's the thing that's controlling your weather. This high pressure system, as it slowly builds into the plains, what that's going to do is it's going to push storms up to the north, and that storm track comes right over the East Coast. And so this could be a time that you're seeing more storms across the Northeast because of this high pressure system out in the plains and the desert. I mean, really, this is a massive system here that's just going to continue to build and build and build. But then as we see this trough, this dip in the jet stream, that's what brings storms across the Northeast. So you could see more storms later on this weekend and as we head into next week. All right, some great questions today. Any last minute questions here? All good. All righty. Well, as always, follow us for more weather updates. We are always posting about storms on all of our social media platforms. We do this live every single weekday at noon, or if storms are coming into your area. So large metros like Denver, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Kansas City, St. Louis, we're always live for those storms if they're significant. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, or give us a call at 855-334-4245 for a wind, hail, or tornado map. We map these storms as they hit your area in almost real time from our meteorologists here at HailTrace. We have over 15 meteorologists at HailTrace that are working around the clock to make sure that you get those accurate storm maps. Email us at info@hailtrace.com or head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more information about the maps we can provide. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here same time, same place tomorrow.